video is the introduction to Adobe Photoshop. So let's get started. The first thing you'll see here is your home page. You can hide the suggestions. These are tutorials that Adobe Photoshop has for us so we can continue learning about their tools. And over here you have your recent files. You can change the view from list to thumbnails, okay? And here on the left you also have, which is like the home menu, of course, or the home page, and we have a learn page where you can browse through more tutorials about this software. We have some Lightroom photos option if you have it connected to this app, and we have the cloud documents. This option allows me to create folders that if I want to open my account in another program, I will be able to see my documents in here without actually using a USB or flash drive, etc. Okay, and if I click here, I will be able to see my deleted documents as well. I'm going to click here in the home page again, and I can also hide the suggestions. Okay, now I have two main buttons here, the create new button and an open. In Create New, I'm in charge of putting the settings of my document and start it from scratch. But if I click here in Open, I can either open a picture to start editing it, or I can open a file that I previously started. For now, I'm going to click in Create New. Over here you have a lot of presets. You have some saved presets that I'm going to show you later how to create. You have presets for photograph, you have for print, art and illustration. You will be able to find a lot of things, okay? For now, I'm going to focus in these parts because I want to create a document from scratch. Remember in the previous lesson, we saw the difference between the pixel size and the document size. We also saw the resolution, the color modes, but we saw only the concepts. This time we are going to actually put them into work, okay? So, remember, one of the things that we saw were like the settings if you are going to create an image that will only be seen on screen, or if you are going to create something that will be printed. So since this time I am not going to print it, I'm just going to see it on screen, then I'm going to choose pixels. Either way, if you want to print it, you can choose inches or centimeters, okay? For now, my choosing will be pixels. And let me put the name here, of course, and I will put my first project. Perfect. You can choose the orientation here, the portrait or landscape. You can use your mouse or the two fingers in your pad of your laptop, so you can increase or decrease the size of the document as well. Okay, again, the resolution I'm choosing, or I'm putting here, is 72 pixels per inch. This is the unit that we'll be using always for the class. If I want to print this, then the resolution, remember, is 150 or higher. And the color mode, we know, of course, it's RGB, because again, if I want to print this, I would have to choose CMYK. And the background contents, for this time, I'm going to use transparent. But if you click in background color, here in the color picker, you will be able to choose any color you want. So I'm not even going to go in the advanced options. We don't need them for now, okay? And then I'm going to click in create. If you worked with Illustrator previously, like if you work first with Illustrator instead of Photoshop, you'll realize that Illustrator doesn't have a lot of things like Photoshop does, okay? So don't get overwhelmed, but if this is your first time working with Photoshop, don't panic. It's very simple. We just need to identify like the main elements. The first thing you need to know is the main menu, which is here at the top of your screen. Okay, if you click here in Photoshop, you will be able to see the plugins, the preferences, about the tools, the cursor, the guides, the units, rulers. We will be learning these more in advanced as we move forward. If you want to know everything about saving your work, exporting your work, your file, creating a new one, sharing it, this is the menu you need to go. If you're talking about editing something like copy, paste, transform, etc., it's an edit, of course. All the things related to your images go here, like the image size, like the adjustment, All your layers go here, of course, making groups, duplicating the layers, exporting them, etc. In type, this is everything about text. If you create selections, you have them here, and so on. Here in window, this is where you can change your workspace, and you have all your panels. Every time you click on a panel and you activate that panel, they appear here on your right, okay? And remember, we have the option to create our own workspace, which I'm going to explain you how to do. And then here on your left, what you have is the toolbar, okay? Remember that all the tools that have this tiny triangle in the lower right corner, they have more tools inside them. This means they are a group of tools. And one thing that I really like about these newest versions is that if you put your cursor on top of one of the tools, they tell you the quick key of that tool and what you can do with that tool, which is great. You can also click in the learn how, and it will take you to some tutorials so you can learn how to use that tool, which is absolutely great. Okay, so to open more tools about the groups, you can just do double click or right click if you are using a mouse, and you will be able to see more of the options or the tools from the same group. Okay, it would be best for you if you learn these quickies. It saves so much time, and it's a much more efficient way to work with Photoshop. And the main tool that you will be using is, of course, the move tool and the selection tools. Now, if I click on a tool, you can see that this menu over here, which is the tools menu, changes. That's because I'm choosing different tools. So if I click here in the move tool, I have the options of show the transform controls or auto select. If I click on the selection tools, I have the feather, the select and mask option. If I click on the brush, for example, I can choose here the size of the brush or the type of the brush that I want to use. So these are tools that we are going to know later on, okay? And then on your right, what you have are your panels. These panels, for example, we have the layers panel to add more layers, to create layer masks, to delete layers. We have the blending modes of each layers. Then we have the gradients panel, for example, the color panel. There are a couple of panels that we must have in our workspace when we start working with Photoshop, okay? So this is everything like that goes on with Photoshop's workspace, okay? So in the next tutorial, I will be explaining you how to move the panels and how to create your own workspace.